viewers, we have two young up-and-coming athletic trainers right here who just recently graduated college. I think as recent as 2020 and 2019. They went to, correct me if I'm wrong, Gustavus Adolphus College, located in Minnesota, correct?
Yep, that was pretty good.
Man, shoot. And then currently, Nathan right here is currently attending the University of Pittsburgh. So he's out east right now, pursuing his master's degree in the same field as well too. And then we have Yi here, who is actually in the field already, and you're located in Minnesota, correct?
Correct. I work for mHealth Fairview in the clinical setting. So pretty much just assisting doctors with minor clinical procedures. Like
awesome, man.
Stuff like that.
Well, part of the reason why we asked you guys to come on is because you guys are young, up and coming, athletic trainers, and our program right here, we touch base a lot on athletics, and I know that sometimes a lot of our athletes are they don't get paid, or they don't have paid professionals on the field to kind of handle or support some of their injuries, or maybe they have maybe they're not properly training or things like that. So although they do play sports and compete at a very high level, they may not have the medical background or just maybe the knowledge in general to kind of be at their best. So that's why we have you guys on the program right here. Well, thank you for joining us in CrossCourt Conversations, man.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
For sure. And our audience out there, if you have any questions at all for these young gentlemen, please type it in the comment section, and then we'll read it off if you guys have any questions at all. Maybe some of your questions is something that we already have planned for them as well too. So please interact with Nathan and Yi. All right, gentlemen, you guys, am I missing anything, man? You guys want to get a plug in to anything at all, man? Forgot to ask you guys that.
Let's see.
Hey,
first
wait,
of all,
what if you all got rice, man? Send it out to Nathan. Nathan's out there. There's no Hmong store or anything.
Rice, Hmong sausage, all the Hmong food, man.
Send food.
Not sure if they have that many Hmong people out there in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I know.
You know, right?
I remember talking to Nathan on the phone. He said there's nothing out there. It's pretty dry out there, man. So, go ahead. Yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off right there.
No, it's fine. So, yeah, before we started, we want to differentiate between personal training and athletic training. Sometimes they think that those two are pretty much the same thing, but personal training, it's like a personal trainer who trains you to get tougher or meet your fitness goal. For athletic training, I think personal trainer, I think they also consider healthcare providers too. Not too sure about that, but athletic trainers, we are healthcare providers. We work under a doctor to help treat, diagnose injury.
Awesome. And then
you have anything to add to that, Nathan?
Yeah, really, just the biggest thing is that athletic trainers are specialists in injury prevention and care. That's something that we always talk about. Like, we specialize in that, and we also do a lot of other stuff too, but that's our biggest goal, is helping our patients from point A to point B in their rehab, however it takes for us to get there. So that's the biggest difference too. And then Yi had mentioned the other day is like a lot of ATs, they can do personal training work, but personal trainers, unless they're certified, like dual credentialed, they can't do athletic training work. So that's really the biggest difference too.
Okay. Well, thank you for educating all of us.
Most of us are just Facebook certified, so that's good enough, right?
Come on, certified.
If it comes from Facebook, it must be true.
It's legit, right?
So, can you guys share a little bit about I guess how a little bit about your Facebook page and a little bit about how the two of you met and began this partnership before we get started.
Yeah, I can start. Our Facebook page, we started it my junior year and Yi senior year. We kind of just wanted to see more Hmong athletic trainers because we didn't really know anyone aside from the ones that were at our school in the program. And our main goals for the page is to really educate the Hmong community about athletic training as a profession, and then also like what we're going to be talking about today, injury prevention and care. So that's really how we started. And then we met at Gustavus when we were both in the program. My first year, I think we had volleyball together, and that's how I met you.
I think so. Yeah.
Can you cite that page?
Yeah, let me go pull it up.
What is it called?
It's called Hmong American Athletic Training Association.
Okay. How many members you guys have right now? Like that's in that group? Is it just you two?
I think
for the managers, just pretty much just me and Nathan for now. We're trying to recruit more staff into the team here.
All right, and then I already put that in our comment section. So if you guys want to go check them out or support them, like the page. If you have any questions, please message them
or connect with them if you guys have the credentials and whatnot.
If you guys have any interest in athletic training, feel free to reach out to Nathan and I directly or through our page.
For sure.
It's kind of a underrated career path, right? Because most of us Hmong kids, like we grow up, naturally playing soccer or volleyball or badminton, whatever, and it's kind of an underrated career path that I think most of us our youth should be looking at, right? Don't you guys think?
Yeah, definitely for sure. It's definitely a good career path to go, especially if you're interested in sports. You still can be involved with it. That's something I was telling like a cousin too. I was like, with athletic trainers, you're really involved with your teams. Like even if you're not playing, you're still on the sidelines with them. You can cheer them on. Like you're still part of that team. Yeah. That's the biggest thing that sets athletic trainers apart too, is that they have that interpersonal relationship with the patients and athletes that they treat. So yeah, it's definitely something that if you like sports a lot and you like helping people, it's definitely a good field to go into.
Yeah. Sure, man. Especially like you said,
like
sports.
I mean, like in our Hmong culture, growing up, your parents always want you to be doctors, right? And well, I can't be a doctor. This is the closest that I can be.
Hey, give yourself some credit though.
Yeah.
Definitely. So, we're gonna section our show into 3 sections. The first one is, I know there are a lot of our athletes, right, that we play in like the Hmong tournament. So the first section is about just preparing for those big tournaments, what to look for, what to do, what to eat, things like that. The second section would be, I believe, is injury prevention, how to prep yourself, how to just questions regarding that. And the last one will be just if you get injured, how can you rehab? Okay. So those of you viewing at home, that's how we are going to divide up our time with these 2 gentlemen right here. All right, guys, you guys ready?
Yeah.
So obviously, being in the Hmong culture here, there's a lot of athletes. We play in a lot of weekend tournaments. One of the most, I guess, prestige tournament in America here is the July 4th Minnesota tournament, right? In Minnesota. Right. So that's one of the biggest tournament, and it happens to be in the dead heat of summer, where it's very hot sometimes. Sometimes I've been there years where it's like 100 degrees, right? It's like crazy down there, right?
Yeah, I think it doesn't register at like 100, but if it's like 80 or whatever.
Yeah.
Close. Some years, I think some years even over 100.
Yeah.
It sure as hell feel like it when you're in that field.
Pheng competed a lot in those tournaments, and a lot of athletes, a lot of our volleyball players and football players on our program here has competed in those. And we hear this a lot from the Cali guys, right? Pheng, that when they come from California to Minnesota or the Midwest, it's like a different type of hot. It's like they're talking about they can't breathe. It's just so humid.
Yeah.
So
it's like no matter how much they train or whatever, that is gonna catch up.
Yeah, for athletes like that, I think they should arrive maybe a week earlier just to acclimate to the weather here and just practice.
Yeah.
So for sure. And then I think some of our athletes have actually come here a week earlier. So depending on, I guess, their flexibility with their schedule, obviously they have different careers besides just playing sports full time. With that said, can the both of you guys share with us some ways to stay hydrated during such a tournament that is just grueling on us with the heat and all that kind of stuff? So can you share some ways to stay hydrated?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing to really stay hydrated is really the days before that you start your tournaments, especially 24 hours before. You want to make sure you're hydrated and eating like a balanced diet.
Big bowl of pho challenge.
Probably not that. Yeah, I mean, as long as it's like balanced and all the nutrients you need, should be fine. But yeah, so just drinking plenty of fluids that kind of help.
Pretty much get everything so far.
Yeah. So 24 hours, just making sure you're eating the right foods and drinking, staying hydrated. And then it's also recommended like within 2 hours before you really start competing, you want to make sure you're drinking at least like 2 cups of water or just some kind of fluid that's going to help you stay hydrated. And then when you're exercising, making sure your intake is consistent. So you don't want to like drink like 5 gulps and then not drink again for like another 30, 40 minutes or like an hour. So making sure you're consistent with how much you're consuming during your competitions.
And let's see, to help with hydration, I think teams, let's see, I'm not a part of the sports team before, but not sure if they bring like big coolers of water to tournaments.
Okay.
Not sure if they do that, but that is recommended.
I think they used to allow athletes to bring water in to July 4th at least, but not anymore. So
yeah, I think they're actually advocating for hydration because they opened up beer garden. That's their form of hydration.
I know.
They're like, oh yeah, these athletes are so dehydrated. Hey, let's open up beer garden. They help them out.
Right. I mean, I think we should advocate for teams to allow teams to bring a couple big jug of water coolers just to be there.
Yeah, for sure. I think the rule was they could bring water in, but it can't be like, it has to be fresh in the plastic. It can't be like put in the cooler because you don't know if it's been like messed with or anything like that. So it has to be fresh, I believe. So somebody can quote me if I'm wrong. If you're in the
and I think also you can purchase as an athlete. You get a voucher or whatever. You can purchase like cases of water at a cheaper price or whatever. At least the last time I was there, that was the case.
So I did a lot of covering for the state of Minnesota soccer. I don't know, just high school soccer. Sometimes the ref will just call timeout just for athletes to take a sip of water or just to hydrate. Not sure if they do that at Hmong tournament or not. And if it's not, I think that's something that we should advocate for.
No, they run you like 8 straight games. If you're in the losers bracket, they run you 8 straight games.
You guys ever played in a tournament? Yeah, the second day, the first day is kind of more relaxed. You don't get that many games, but once the teams they kind of dwindle down, it is kind of like survival of the fittest, man. It's like they got to play games after game after game after game, and some of these guys are underhydrated. from the night before too. I guess they because it's a festive event too. It's not just a tournament, but it's kind of like a festive event. So the night before, however they handle their body, they come in, they pay the price too, man.
Okay.
So
yeah, I think back when like 10, 12 years ago when I was like really competing, I did quite a deep dive on like some of the top athletes, and like I was, in my opinion, I just came down to like boxers were like the top notch athletes. You know, those guys are always cutting weight. I mean, those guys were always, you know, gaining weight in between fights, and then when they had fights, they would have like 8 to 10 weeks of camp, and they would drop like so much weight. They would come in tip top shape, you know. So I did like a whole deep dive on them, and like what the main part with them, like, and their endurance and whatnot, going 12 rounds or whatever, was like breathing methods, you know. And that's what I took from it. I was like, in order for me to you know, produce and take that many sets and play that many games, I was like, man, I really have to concentrate on my breathing methods. What do you guys have to say about that?
Yeah, like you had mentioned earlier, really acclimating to the environment that you're playing in is going to help you the most. So if you know, like, you're going to be playing in a super hot environment, maybe like arriving, and like Will, you mentioned, like, it's sometimes not feasible just because of everyone's schedule, but like if you can, and arriving like at least about a week before, and then gradually like doing practices during the heats, just so your body's used to it, so it can really adjust to like the different environment that you're in. So that's really the biggest thing, is just letting your body acclimate and really not trying to overdo yourself. Like if you arrive that morning up, you probably don't want to go all out that same day that you're going to be competing, because that's going to your body's not really acclimated, especially if you're coming from a different region.
Yeah,
for sure. Let's lead to the next question. Can you guys share some ways to prevent athletes from cramping? I know that's one of the most common things, because when the athletes are running game after game after game, they tend to cramp. Can you share some ways to prevent cramping?
Licking salt, right?
Hey, one of our athletes, one of our guests on the show here, a good friend of ours, said that licking salt can help prevent cramps. Is that true? And
really? I mean, I can see, yeah, because let's see, cramping kind of go with let's see, hydration, and when you dehydrate, you lose a lot of salt. Maybe that's the idea.
I think that's what he kind of said too. So
I think
it worked for him. So
okay, that's good from him.
Yeah, but can you guys share some ways to prevent cramping?
Yeah, along with hydration, just making sure you're having like a proper warm up. So we'll talk about it in the next session too, section too, but like just having a proper warm up, especially if you're playing volleyball, or like sports where you're running a lot, warming up your lower legs, lower extremities, getting them warmed up. You don't want to be super tight, and then just really slowly, gradually getting into it, and then definitely not overdoing things too much, which is, it's kind of hard, because like when you're competing in a higher environment, you want to give it your all, but just also understanding like your body, like if your body's screaming at you, you probably want to take it down a little bit.
Okay.
And pretty much like stretch throughout the game, gradually train to your game level. You don't want just to not train and then just go out and play. That will lead to a lot of crampings and injuries.
Yeah, especially if you're going to be playing at a high intensity level too.
Right. Sure. So gradually train to that game level, and that will help prevent crampings or other injuries.
So young folks out there, they're always saying you train how you play. So I mean, if you train hard, you're gonna be ready for the game. If you don't train hard and you go all out, definitely injury is a factor. I mean, injury is a factor in anything, but you just have a higher chance.
You might know friends, right? I think Pheng might know friends that just show up and then play the game, right?
No, and like I said, during my deep dive, during my deep dive with boxers, they focus so much on breathing, like your oxygen intake, that prevents, all those muscle tightening and whatnot, getting oxygen to your muscles and whatnot, and breathing, sucking through your nose and out your mouth, and instead of, because when you're like during a long rally or whatever, or during, when you're sprinting a lot or whatnot, you tend to kind of forget to breathe properly. You're kind of breathing with your mouth and you just drown yourself out, but boxers, I like I said, I noticed that, in between fights, they were sucking real deep through their nose and out their mouth, you know what I mean? Just to calm their heart rate back down, you know what I mean? Because in boxing, it's like a sprint, you sprint for 3 minutes and then you come back and you control your breathing, and then you go back out. And I've always found that to help me not cramp, but like you said, proper nutrition and all that, it really helps too, So.
Is that why they kind of breathe through their nose? Like, when they throw punches, they got to make that noise like, is that why they breathe?
Yeah, like that's supposed to generate more power.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but like, when they're jump roping and doing, because boxing is kind of similar to volleyball, where you're doing stuff in spurts.
Yeah.
So that's why I kind of focused on that.
Yeah. So
like breathing through your nose and all that stuff that kind of helped when I was playing, at least, And I found when I was like in my mid-20s, I was performing a lot better when I was like, younger, like when I was 18 and just, giving her,
Man, that's amazing. It's crazy to see that with the advance in like the medical information nowadays, you see athletes playing longer and longer and longer. Like, for instance, like a Tom Brady who's playing, he's almost 50, man. And then if he really wanted to play, he could still probably ball out. So I mean, there's just a lot of information out there.
Yeah.
All right, fellas. So obviously, if you guys been to these Hmong tournaments, there's a lot of good food out there, man. You got your chicken, your rice, your papaya, got them 10 peppers up in there, got the boba things going on out there, man. Share with us some nutrition. Should athletes be eating all those food during game day? And maybe you guys can give us some tips on how athletes should be, some nutrition tips for some of our athletes out there. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to avoid those food, honestly. Like, it's there in front of your face, like it's begging to be eaten.
It's really comfort food.
But I mean, if you eat in moderation, it's not gonna be too bad. But really, like the day of or like the days leading to, you don't want to eat too like fat, like greasy foods or anything like that. When I swam in high school, we did this thing called like spaghetti night the day before we do our section meet, and that's like the big meets for high school swimming before state. So we'd go over to like one of our swim captain's house and we do spaghetti night. So all we do is just eat spaghetti, and that's like the carbs. And carbs, a lot of people think carbs are bad for you, but really, if you're doing a lot of physical activity, carbs is really going to be the ones that's going to provide you the most energy. So that's why a lot of people and athletes will eat spaghetti.
Do you do with sauce or without sauce?
Okay. Can you guys share some example of carbs, like food with like carbs?
Yeah,
like Nathan say, rice. It's one source of carbs.
Yeah, so anything like whole grains, your vegetables, fruits, milk, and yogurt.
So, all you guys out there going to eat Hmong food, man, eat in moderation. Don't eat so much. Chill out, relax.
Maybe eat it at the end of the tournament.
There you go.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with it, but you just want max effort.
Right.
So, for sure.
I mean, just imagine eating that spicy papaya and a few hours later, it may cause some stomach discomfort, and that might influence your performance too.
For sure. I know that, and I think
I
guess.
I don't even eat sometimes at tournaments.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, should you be eating it?
I'll eat like bananas and whatnot, but I wouldn't like eat like pork belly or anything like that.
Well, I think the point is, I think everybody's body is different how they handle stuff. I know we have an athlete come on. His theory was he doesn't like to eat a lot of the Hmong food because Hmong food there's a lot of fat in there.
Right. Yeah.
So
yeah.
And then new whole day everything's gonna freeze up in his stomach and he's gonna get these cramps and all this kind of stuff. So I mean,
because that's how I feel like. But I don't know about like football players or soccer players, but like as volleyball, you got to feel light when you're jumping and whatnot. So like I don't even try to eat like rice or anything like that. Like when back when I trained, I would try to peak, at the tournament time. So like my training would peak right before the tournaments, and I would never I would cut off about 2-3 weeks where I just ate like real good, salads and focus on, all my essentials, you know what I mean? But like going in, I don't think I ever I think when I was younger and I was eating a lot of like tournament food, I felt heavy. I felt heavy and I felt like I couldn't jump or couldn't perform or whatnot. And I think that's why I went that route. But I don't know if that's even healthy at all to kind of not consume any carbs. Or I mean bananas are carbs too, but yeah.
Yeah. Definitely like what like what Nathan said, you just got to eat and watch what you eat essentially. So yeah, man, I used to go to tournaments and not eat anything as well too, just afraid of what it can do to my stomach. But I guess you do need some food just to give you energy. Yeah. So all right, let's shall we go to the injury prevention side? Gentlemen, should athletes stretch often? Obviously, there's a lot of information out there. Should they stretch often? And if so, can you guys share some proper ways of how athletes should stretch?
Yeah, I think
yes, yeah, they should stretch often to avoid injuries or cramps, stuff like that.
Yeah, and then really when you're stretching, it's better if you do like dynamic stretches before you start any activities, because then it's going to help your body loosen up, get your body warm right away. So like doing arm circles, karaokas, high knees, butt kicks, all those stuff. And then when you're done with activity, static stretches. So just like static stretches, just be like putting your hand over behind your head and then pulling it so you're stretching your triceps. Stuff where you're stationary. It's kind of what static stretches are. So yeah, stretching is a key factor in helping with injury prevention.
Okay. Should athletes stretch during games, during timeouts, and things like that too?
Yes.
I don't see the harm in it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I mean, sometimes if you use certain movements, your muscle might tighten up, and stretch will help with that.
Yeah, for sure. I know that in different sports, in professional sports, I know that I don't know if you guys follow baseball, but if pitcher they warm up the arm in certain ways. So for instance, if there's like a rain delay where the game is postponed for like 1 hour or 2 hours, they don't put the pitcher back in, because I'm not sure what it is, but it's just these routine where they stretch it, cool down or something. So it's just injury prevention too. So they take a lot of precaution in that as well too. So
yeah, a lot of that has to do with the pitch counts in baseball. Just because when you're pitching overhead, that's not really a normal motion for us and how our shoulder works. So that's why you'll see a lot of that too. Because if they're pitching a lot, then it's gonna add a lot of stress to their shoulders, and the last thing that they want.
Yeah, for sure. And I know that at a young age, your kids that play Little League, there's always a pitch count, and they don't allow the young kids to throw curveballs because of the torque on the torque on the arm, on the elbow is so like, I guess, violent that if the more they do it, I think there's like I don't know what muscle it is right there, but they call it the Tommy John. I mean, whatever the surgery is called, the Tommy John, where the ligament tears or whatever. So a lot of precautions there, man.
Would you guys recommend a foam rolling? I know I do that a lot, but like just rolling and
that's a good way to loosen up your muscles too, and also help with muscle soreness. You probably felt that before, and that's a good way to help with muscle soreness.
Okay.
One way you can do with muscle soreness, you can maybe grab a bottle and put some hot water in there and then just roll it.
Oh yeah. Okay. Creates that heat.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say bottle of Henny or something like that.
I mean, the empty bottle of Henny should be fine too.
Truth is out.
Especially once you have the cap on.
Yeah. And then I swear my grandma, when we were younger, we used to sprain our ankle. Like, man, those grandma, they know how to the left side. They throw on that, man, dude. They got the magic touch, man. I swear. So, all right, next one.
A pregnant lady to cycle.
I know they got so many remedies. So, what about this? Can you guys share some ways or routines a volleyball player can prevent shoulder injuries, because they are always like using their shoulder so much? What can they do?
Yeah, so I don't know if you do this, but one thing I've seen a lot too from playing with the volleyball community in Pittsburgh is they'll warm up like just throwing the ball to each other, throwing it onto the ground, hitting onto the ground to the other person, to the person they're warming up with. And then a lot of them will do like arm circles, like I mentioned earlier, just a lot of dynamic stuff to really help loosen up their shoulder, so that when they're in their match, it's not stiff. So really like warming up like that. And then obviously like peppering too. You don't want to like start hitting lines without actually warming up any part of your body. So especially with shoulder in volleyball, like really working on warming up your shoulders, however you need to. Like if you're just throwing the ball back and forth to each other, if that's what's going to help you, then but really just making sure that you're doing something to warm up those muscles.
And incorporate strengthening exercises to your routine training, just to help with those muscles surrounding the shoulder there.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. Kind of running through. I mean, at a lesser rate. Running through your normal motions. Obviously the arm swing, jumping. I know sprinters. They'll start with a small sprint or whatever. Just to kind of get their muscles, acting up and warming up and whatnot. So yeah, definitely.
Well, I see a lot of our athletes out there who, at their older age, they complain a lot about their shoulders. And when they were younger, I do see them just basically sitting on the sideline all day, and then when it's time to warm up, they basically just get up and go and start swinging and hitting. So just great advice from our experts right here, Nathan Yee, and obviously Pheng with a lot of his experience as well too, man.
I wish I had all this knowledge when I was younger, because
I know
everything that you guys have said that was negative, I was definitely that guy.
For sure.
Really showed you if I play that. And then like with my son, I treat totally different. There's a thin line that I walk with him, like, you got to warm up and all this and that, you got to lift the proper weights, work the bands and whatnot, but yeah, I wish I had all that, when I was younger, because, shoulder issues, lower back, knees, I mean, these are all normal, these are all normal issues if, you're not even playing anything, but you accelerate it by, doing all these dumb activities. So yeah,
that's for sure, man. Totally agree with that sentiment, Pheng, man. I think back in the days, there wasn't that many information out there, or we couldn't access the information as easily as the kids would do now, as they could just Google everything and do their thing. But definitely that information is, because you're seeing a lot of athletes who are struggling right now with shoulders, knees, and they always talk about stuff like that, man. So
all we had was, I don't know if you two will understand, but all we had was Jack LaLanne and Richard Simmons, man. Jack LaLanne and Richard Simmons in the morning, man. Y'all need to Google that. Y'all too young for that.
I'm gonna Google that because I want
to know. Oh, all right. And then our next one, obviously when we're playing these sports, football, basketball, whatever it is, we put a lot of just shifting and weight on our ankles. Can you guys share some ways athletes can train the ankles to make them stronger to prevent some of these injuries?
Yeah, ankle sprain is probably one of the most common or the most common injury in sports. We in terms of training, we go through a few phases. Pretty much work on your ankle range of motion, and then strengthening exercises around the ankle in all motions, and then do a lot of your specific activity exercises. For instance, like for basketball, they do a lot of side shuffles, cutting like that. So work on those moves.
Okay.
And then also just making sure you're wearing the right shoes and make sure that it fits properly. If your shoe's too tight, it's not going to work for you. You don't want to wear shoes that are too loose where your heel's slipping out. So you definitely want to make sure that the shoes you're wearing are properly fitted, and then they're for the activities that you're doing. Especially like if you're playing volleyball indoors or like basketball indoors, making sure that you're wearing hard court, like court shoes, and not like boot shoes or like just regular running shoes, because those aren't going to be supportive at all for what you're doing for your sport. So make sure you're wearing the right shoes.
Okay.
And then also, if you have a history of ankle sprains in the past, it is more common that you will re-sprain it. Recommended that you wear a brace, an ankle brace during any activities, or have your ankle tape.
Yeah. I know.
I only laugh because I have like 3 on my left side, 4 on my right side.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
That first one hurts like a bee, man. But then after that, kind of like you're just like, okay, fine. Oh, the first one, it hurts, man. The first time you ever roll it or sprain it, it hurts. Then after
have you
that,
had a situation that you just walk and then you just roll your ankle? That's the worst.
That's the worst. Do you guys recommend athletes playing barefooted? Do you guys recommend that? I know there's athletes who say they could jump higher or play better barefooted. What do you guys think about that?
Are you talking about volleyball or football?
Yeah. Definitely volleyball. I think it's more common
not for football.
It's more common in volleyball in the Hmong community at least. So
I know, like with running, some people, or there's been studies about like running barefoot. It's like there's some positives about running barefoot, but I don't know much about like playing volleyball barefoot. Like I've played barefoot and with shoes, and like I personally don't feel the difference. Probably the biggest difference would be like how much grip I feel. But since moving out here, and I've been playing a lot of outdoor volleyball with the community here, and they play a lot of like 2s and 4s volleyball, so I got to run a lot more. And one thing I've noticed is that they'll wear trail shoes just because those have more traction to play on grass. So if you're looking for more traction, that trail shoes that are meant for like more like the running kind of activities, those might be good for you. But as far as like just playing barefoot, I don't know much about.
What about like from like
let's see,
from like an injury standpoint? Like, is it safer to play in barefooted? I mean, I know that if you were to land awkwardly on your ankle without any protection or anything at all, you're pretty much just landing like without any brace at all, man. What do you guys think about that?
I mean, if you want to play with barefoot, gradually train for it. Like, just don't just go there and then take off your shoe and then play barefoot.
Gotcha.
Gradually train with playing barefoot. Maybe train with jumping or spiking with a barefoot first, and then maybe practice with like during practice, maybe try barefoot first, and if you go with that, it's fine. But let's see. Yeah,
that's so true,
injury,
because
I think the injury will be more intense than wearing a shoe.
Yeah, obviously, yeah, but that is true what you kind of said, because I'm not used to playing barefoot. So whenever I do play barefoot, I'm like, man, I feel so awkward and out of place that it's just So
Yeah,
I kind of understand your concept with it. You got to train with it and be used to it in order to be effective with it. So
right.
Let's see what we got here. Can you guys share some?
Do you guys think mobility, like focus on mobility, really helps with injury care and kind of preventing injuries?
Absolutely, yeah. You definitely there is a such thing as too much mobility, but it's better to have more than none, because if your joints are not mobile, then it's going to be harder for you to really move around and do things. So and that's something we'll talk about in the rehab too, is like working on that mobility.
There is a rule. I can't remember that rule, but let's see. There's like a couple points. If you move past your mobility point, that can also lead to if you have too much mobility, that will also lead to injuries too.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a threshold for mobility.
There's a threshold for that. Yeah.
Oh, I never heard of that, man. Let's see. Can you guys share some poor practices that athletes should avoid that can lead to potential injuries?
Cumbia play.
There you go. That's
number one on the list.
Yeah, I like that.
Don't
drink the night before your game.
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, that one's definitely
that's pretty
one.
common, right? That's pretty common. They would just party all night and then the next morning go in for
number one on the list.
Yes.
But I see a lot of, me personally, when I played, you just didn't practice a lot of the stuff that or maybe you practiced it, but it was totally wrong and you didn't gain any benefit from it. Can you guys share some of the practices for athletes to avoid?
Yeah, like I mentioned before, just if they're not warming up and they're just jumping in right away, that's a practice. You gotta let your body adapt to what you're doing and let it come up to it. And then also like poor mechanics, like if you're learning it and then you're not really taking the time to learn it, and you're just going out there, like especially for volleyball, if you don't really know how to swing and you're just going up, you're just throwing your arms around, it's gonna be bad for you. You're gonna hurt your shoulder in the long run. So really making sure you're taking the time to learn the mechanics of what you're doing.
Same thing for like squatting and deadlift, stuff like that, or power lift, stuff like that. Take the time to learn the technique first, and then start with lesser weight than heavy.
Yeah, I work with a lot of kids that play volleyball here, and I always tell them, like, the injuries are never when you're jumping. You know what I mean? The injuries are usually when you're landing. So like I have them focus on landing and knowing how to land and landing properly. Like with my son, I actually have him jump from a platform and learn how to land from a higher height than what he can jump. So when he's jumping at his lower height, like landing is easier for him. I don't know if that's helpful or not, but that's just kind of how I process in my head. I don't know.
Yeah, that's definitely helpful. Like that's something a lot of athletes need to be wary of too, is like how they're landing. Like you definitely don't want to land on top of someone, so you got to be really aware of like where you're landing, how you're landing. So I think that's really good that you're doing that with him. I would also say like teaching, like having him jump up onto a higher surface and having him work on the landing on there too. That's something I like with one of the internships I've done. We help them not just stepping down, but like jumping up and landing. So they're really focused on how they're landing too. So something you could do as well.
I think that's what we call proprioception. That's when you know your joints in space without thinking it.
Yeah.
And some exercises that you can also do is just to balance with one leg and close your eye and have someone push you around.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I noticed, playing volleyball for like over how many years I've been playing, 20 plus years or whatever. I noticed a lot of athletes, they land on one leg, you know what I mean? And these athletes that I try to help nowadays, I was like, if you're going to land on one leg, you have to be sure that you're stable and not like relying on that one leg. You have to be like, it's got to be like a 1-2 or like at least land on two legs. You know what I mean? Because I see a lot of athletes that land on one leg and they fall awkwardly, and then that's when injuries happen. You know what I mean? Because that one leg, especially with that much weight coming down, and if you're like tippy, you know what I mean? That'll really cause a lot of injuries.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so too. Especially in the short run, they may not like. I guess in the short run, they are explosive. They can do whatever they want to do. But if you're playing and you're thinking about a long career, I think they might want to change up some of those mechanics. And I think that's one of the reasons why I think Pheng was able to play for longer than the average athlete. I think the average Hmong player, because just maybe injuries or just stuff, at least stuff on the field, injuries and stuff like that. But stuff off the field, like family and stuff, that you can't control that. But a lot of the injuries can be prevented as well too. So, shall we go? Let's go to the board real quick. I know some of your guys' family members or friends are out here giving you guys a holler, man. So we have here, is it Do or Xiong?
Do.
Okay. She said, hi, Yi and Nathan. Giving your college a shout out as well, too. Revelation Lee said, the water and ice must be in the packages and coolers due to safety precaution. Thank you for clearing that up. Yes, I think that's one of the reasons why they do not want any bottle put into coolers or anything like that. Everything has to be packaged. Thank you. Vanessa here said, pickle juice. I believe she's referring to pickle juice being used to prevent cramps. You guys ever heard of that, Nathan and Yi? Pickle juice?
I've heard of it a lot. I don't like pickles, so I do that myself.
That's what I thought, that was only for taking shots.
Oh, man.
She got the wrong program, dude. You're doing the wrong program.
Yes, pickle juice is good for a chaser for shots too. We confirm that. That is confirmed.
I'm gonna have to try that next time, huh?
Yes, it's been confirmed by Pheng, our expert panelist today in that department. Samantha here says, hi, Nathan. Nong says, hi, Yi. Nice job. This is good information. Awesome. See, you guys are making an impact already, man. And then Pheng on the side here confirming a lot of the other stuff too, man. Pheng's confirming the extracurricular activities on the side here.
Take the juice to sober up.
All right. Okay, where are we at? Right here. Okay. We talk about poor habits. Thank you for sharing some of the mechanic stuff. Can you guys share a fitness plan or a routine that can help our athletes prevent injuries?
There's really no set fitness plan. The biggest thing is just finding a balance between your core cardio and like your strengthening. And strengthening, it doesn't have to be like weightlifting, like Olympic weightlifting, but as long as you're getting some type of strengthening exercises and then you're balancing all three of those, I think that's the key to having a good fitness routine. Finding that balance that works for you, as long as you're getting three of those in. So that's kind of how I approach that. There's really, I don't really think, just because everyone's different too, and everyone's body is different, so there's really no set plan or routine that can really help everyone. Just making sure that you're working towards your own body type and your own goals too.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah, because I know, like, for basketball, there's set positions. You run to a spot, and if you're a spot up shooter, you're a spot up shooter. But I think, like, for volleyball and like football and whatnot, you don't know where the ball is going, half the time. So it's like you got to kind of be prepared, So yeah, obviously you got to be, I think like, just warming up properly and like I said, training before it. Like, I know
that's probably one of the huge things that you should do.
Yeah, because when I used to train for like the 1%, like all the other percent, like I know I could do, but the stuff that I couldn't do, that was hard for me, I would train on that, like how to position my body and whatnot, to try to kind of prevent any injuries and whatnot,
And learn the technique of your position.
Right.
And if you're a lineman, learn those techniques in your position.
Sure. I kind of like what Pheng touched on, where in volleyball it's so much reactionary because you don't know where the ball is going, you don't know your movement. I know in football there's set movements. When you're running a route, you're supposed to run a certain way. I know in volleyball it's more of just reactionary, unless you're hitting, where how you're gonna do it. But you really don't know how to react at all. So and I like what you said too, man. You got to kind of train to your sport, move. I know that a lot of people, they like to lift hard, lift heavy, and go play volleyball, but I don't think those two mix and match very much, man.
Yeah.
You're gonna go heavy, then that's gonna be a tough sport, because volleyball, when I played, it's a lot about flexibility. You got to be flexible, and you got to be quick and reactionary, things like that. So different type of training. So obviously, I think volleyball, you can go hard too, maybe on the legs, or I don't know. I've never really trained for volleyball. We kind of just did what you guys said not to do, kind of just got up and played at the park, man. So we never really got the max of what we could actually become. You drop all your balls, man. So
yeah, I think like for me, like the most important thing is knowing what to do when you're tired. Because most people, when they're tired, they lose their form. They don't know how to jump anymore. They don't know how to land anymore. But you have to be really like focused on, especially when you're tired. So like when I train till I'm tired, and then I go some more, so I know like how to react when I'm tired. So it's second nature. So like it kind of like what we've been talking about, you just you prevent a lot of those injuries because you know what to do when you're tired, when you're huffing and puffing, when your muscles not reacting. You have a default mechanism where you can fall back on.
Yeah, very true. Good point right there, Pheng, man. That's why they say you gotta go hard in practice, right? So when you play the actual game, you're prepared for it.
Or it doesn't take that much. You know what I mean? Like let's say for like football or whatever, like if I sprint like so many sprints, then on my fifth one, or when I'm tired, I'll try to sprint the same way, but just focusing more on form and breathing and whatnot. Just like if you're jumping, jump 10 times straight until you're tired. And then, you know, that last few 3, 4, 5 or whatever, still trying to maintain, you know, your form and whatnot.
Good point, man. For sure. I mean, obviously, Pheng, you got a lot of experience in that, man. And then you two gentlemen, you guys got a lot of training in that. So I'm right here. I'm just the guy on the TV talking like, hey, man, this guy ain't shit. But I can't even do half the stuff, man.
No, you know your stuff too.
So, all right, gentlemen, that's what we have for the injury prevention portion. We're gonna take it to the injury care, the rehab. What if we do get injured? I know that during the Oshkosh tournament, we have two very young ladies, very great athletes, great volleyball players. I believe their name is Jenny, and then one of them was Bella. So shout out to those two girls. They are rehabbing and doing. They're on their journey right now. So I seen those injuries happen live, and it's just, you know, I know injury is gonna happen, but what we do after the injury really matters for us to bounce back as well too. And then I think recently we had a guest on. His name is Calvin. We were just talking to him last week, and he was balling out.
I saw that too. Yeah.
Yeah, he was just, you know, balling out, and all of a sudden he, you know, there's a little bump in the road too with his injury as well too. So he's on his journey to come back as well too. So injury is gonna happen, but I believe as an athlete, I sprained my ankle, broke my forearm a couple times. It's how you bounce back and how you take care of yourself, man. So we're gonna get into that portion right here. I know there's a lot of wear and tear. I know Pheng, obviously, as an athlete, he's been through it. You guys probably seen a lot of the people that you guys been around, that you guys took care of, been through it as well too. And injury just doesn't happen in athletics. It happens for dancers, correct? It happens for dancers, anyone who does physical activities. You know, so this is going out to a lot of our dancers, to a lot of our Hmong dancers as well too. I know they run into injuries as well too. So this is the information for them too, how to take care of themselves. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right. So can you guys share what athletes should be doing after they sprain their ankle? So right off the bat, what should they be doing?
Yeah, the first thing is just making sure that if there's swelling, you're controlling the swelling. And then the biggest thing too about rehabbing is pain management. You want to do what you can to kind of help manage the pain. So that the mnemonic that a lot of people use, I think that's the right word for it, but like PRICE or like RICE, if you've heard of it, where it's like rest, ice, compression, and elevation. That's kind of what you want to do when you first sprain, especially if there's like a lot of swelling. Doing that's going to help control the swelling, but also kind of help with the pain management. So that's really what you should first be doing, making sure that you're controlling those things right away.
Okay.
Then the next few days, work on your range of motion. If you don't work on it, it will be harder to get that motion back like later, like a few weeks later.
Okay. Anything to add to that, Pheng?
That's just, it's traumatizing talking about ankles.
Oh yeah.
Because I remember a couple of years ago, my son Jalen rose me. I don't know if you guys know that term, but during the playoffs, Kobe went up for a shot, and Jalen Rose purposely walked under him so he can roll his ankle. My son, Jalen Rose me, not. I don't know if he was doing it on purpose. He might have, I don't know. Regardless, I rolled my ankle. I fell to the ground. I was like, ah! I got up. I looked at him. I was like, keep shooting. God damn it. I just pulled myself out. I was like, you better keep shooting. Yeah. No, but ankle injuries are the worst. I don't know if I did anything what you guys had mentioned. All I know is my last one was the worst because I'm like severely flat-footed. So like my plantar was like tore up. You know, my heel was killing me and everything. I don't know what I did to kind of alleviate that, but I know I know I tennis ball my feet a lot now, for my plantar, just to kind of reduce that pain and whatnot. It comes and goes.
Try that hot water bottle thing on your plantar too. That might help too sometimes.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. I know that ankles are crazy, man. We always joke about it, like ankle is. I don't know how it feels to deliver a baby, but we're saying like we're comparing ankle. The ankle, I guess, pain is comparable to childbirth, but I know it's nothing like that. But it's just a joke.
Yeah, ankles is just it's hard. Like it's hard to avoid it really because so much is you're doing it on your feet. So, another suggestion for you, Pheng. I have like this massage thing. It's like a shiatsu massage. It has heat and all it does is just massage your feet.
Really?
Can we see it? Yeah. Can we get on Amazon? Give us the.
I think you can.
Now they have like massage.
Oh, dang!
Turn it on. There's like you can turn it on with heat, and then the heat's just gonna help warm the area. Yeah. Just in a circle, and then it massages your feet. Feels good. I do it. Whenever, I play volleyball, and my feet are sore.
I gotta do that. I gotta get one of those.
What is that thing called, Nathan?
It's a shiatsu massager. They have it for like different parts of your body, but the one I have is for the foot.
Shiatsu massager. And then can you give us that antonym again? The RICE. Can you repeat what it stands for again?
Yeah, RICE is rest, ice, compression, and elevation. There's also price, and I can't remember what P stands for. So
protection. You want to protect the area. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, I thought it was profanity, man. Profanity.
That's gonna happen.
For sure, man. That's what you guys want to do right after you get injured. I know that a lot of athletes will try to hobble around, walk with it, and all this kind of stuff. But for sure, take proper care of it because you don't know the severity of it, so you gotta take care of it, right? So.
Through you guys' studies, do you guys find that a lot of injuries, like let's say a lot of knee injuries, right, or ankle or whatever, is that like just like the result of it, or like is it because I did a couple of readings, like because my plantar was bothering me so much, it was saying like maybe you have maybe I have like tight hammies or tight calves or whatever. So I started like focusing on like rolling my calves and stretching my calves more, and getting more ankle mobility and whatnot. Do you guys find like injuries are just a result of like a culmination of everything else that's going on with your body, or is it just
sometimes yes. So first of all, you will focus on the area that's bothering you the most, right? And then you will try treatments for that area. If the treatment doesn't help, then you will have to take a look at your other body part too, or other muscles in the body. I think we learned about the kinetic chain. Remember that, Nathan?
Yeah.
So if you have a tight let's see, a tight calf, that can lead to a tight hamstring or a tight back or stuff like that.
Yeah, your whole body's connected. So you just got to make sure like whenever you're doing your exercises, you're focusing on every part of your body and not just that one part. Like you mentioned, that kinetic chain, everything's just really connected. So
I know we're talking about ankle injuries, but I think one of the like underrated injury is back injuries. Oh my god, like a back spasm or anything, you can't even stand upright, man. That's I swear. I don't know if you guys know any back prevention.
Like a neck, just like a sore neck. Like
neck too. Yeah, for sure.
The next day you woke up with like a painful neck.
Yeah.
That's
Pheng, wasn't there a story with who was it? They said that they played volleyball a whole game with like a neck injury or like a sore neck. They could even
Alan.
Was it Allen?
Allen,
Yeah, Allen said he played like a whole tournament.
Yeah,
well, not a whole tournament, but maybe like a whole. It was like the finals or something like that.
Yeah,
he played
like
and he couldn't even like
semifinals. Yeah, he had a nerve that was pinched or whatever. I don't know what it was, but he couldn't like really work his neck. It was, you know, muscle spasm or whatever it was.
Yeah, could be that the spasm is compressing like one of his nerve or something like that.
How about this, man? How do you rehab? Is there a difference between rehabbing your ankle that is sprained and broken? Is that the same thing essentially? Can you guys explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, for broken, it's like you break a bone, right? So for a sprain, it's just like probably we're hoping just like a minor tear of one of the ligaments in the ankle. So with ankle sprain, you can start your rehab right away. For a broken bone, I work with a orthopedic doctor. Normally, we'll wait 4 to 6 weeks until the bone is fully healed, and then they can work on and then start the rehab after that.
Okay. Can you tell the difference right off the bat just by how it sounds or anything like that, or do you pretty much? I mean, can you tell right off the bat?
Yeah. So for a broken bone, it's more painful than a regular sprain, and if your pain doesn't go away in the next like week, like your pain still at that intense level, that could be an indication that something is broken, and you should see a doctor for that for an X-ray to confirm that it's a fracture.
Okay.
And then for sprain, with time, your pain will go away. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, one rule that a lot of healthcare providers, like athletic trainers and PTs, they'll utilize is the Ottawa ankle rule, which is pretty much a rule that helps us determine whether or not someone needs to get seen for images, just because X-rays are expensive. Especially when you're just getting in, like, or just going to the hospital, that's expensive, like for a visit.
Right.
So a lot of that went into that rule is to kind of help offset that. But pretty much, if you like sprain your ankle and you have any tenderness on either side of your, so there's like the bones on your ankles called malleolus. You have like point tenderness around there, or like you can't take more than 4 steps without like it being too painful. Or like you can't bear weight for 4 steps. That's kind of usually when it's indicated that you should go in to get images done, just to rule out like any fractures or anything like that. So
okay. All right. I remember I don't know if I rolled it or not, but is it common to like either, I don't know what happened, but I could hear like bone cracking, or like when it just, I think it just kind of overstretched and you could just hear everything. It's not a pop or a crack, it's just like a bunch of, it's kind of sounds like when you crack your knuckle, everything just went like, is that common? Or
sometimes, if you have a loose joint and your joints have fluids in there, and sometimes the movement of the fluid can cause that sounds too.
Okay.
It's funny you say that, because I literally just cracked my ankle right as you said.
It's just realignment. That's all it is.
Oh man, see the chiropractor often. That's what it is, man. How about this, man? I know I saw one of the athletes, one of the female athletes. I think she had an ACL. Share what athletes should do after hurting their knee. What should they do directly right after? Can you guys share little tips on those?
We can also use price, like about the ankle, protect the knee, and ice, rest, elevation, and compression. Right after any injury, I think it's always good to use price or rice.
Okay, awesome, man. And then go ahead. And then is there a difference between like a sprain and a tear in at least rehabbing or just taking care of it?
Kind of, but not really. But like sprains, sprains, it involves your ligaments, and like there's different degrees of sprains. And what sprains are is there's tearing of the ligaments. And that the grades just determines how severe the tears are. So like a grade, I believe sprains is the highest grade is a 3. It's a grade 3, then that means it's completely torn. So it's no longer intact. But there is a little bit of a difference in how you rehab that. If it's fully torn, your rehab's going to be a little bit longer, just because you got to take time to let that part of your body heal and kind of recover. Because that's going to take a little bit longer. But
yeah, with a complete tear of any tendons, normally it requires a surgical procedure to fix it.
Okay.
Sometimes doctor would say treat it with a non-operative treatment, where you can just do strengthening exercises, but your knee or your ankle will not feel the same with that. So it is best to go with I'm guessing the surgical procedure.
Okay. And then I know that professional athletes, when they come back, obviously there's a lot of people that invest in them for them to rehab the body. They have all the medical doctors, all the information to kind of help them come back from it. What kind of like an everyday person like me who just play volleyball on the weekend, what can I do to best come back from, let's say, an ACL injury or knee sprain or things like that? What can I do with the limited resources that I have?
Yeah, just working on exercises. So like single leg stuff, so balancing on one leg, stuff like that. You don't need the most expensive equipment to really do any of these stuff. With strengthening exercises too, you could just do like weighted prone hang. So you're on your stomach, and then all you're doing is just doing like a hamstring curl. You could do that with weights or without weights, starting with body weights and then progressing it. And then there's like TheraBands that you can use. Those are relatively cheap. You can use that. And then there's like different colors for the strength levels. So you can progress using that. There's a lot of ways you can do it, but the big thing is strengthening everything around the structure that you hurt. So like if it's your knee, then you're going to strengthen below and above that. Okay. And all those muscles that are involved with that.
Okay. Anything to add to that, Pheng?
No, that's shit. Okay. I've been knocking wood. I've been like fortunate enough to. I actually witnessed somebody hurt their knee last week, and then he tore his ACL, I think. Yeah. But yeah, I mean that was.
Injuries will happen, man.
Did he get surgery, or is he gonna just rehab it?
Surgery.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Normally it's a surgical.
Yeah. So if it's a tear, do you necessarily need a surgical procedure, or does the muscle or whatever, the joint, whatever it's called, the tendon, does it come back, or do you need to have surgical procedures?
If it's fully torn, then it's suggested you get a procedure done. Okay. Because it's not going to grow back. Your joints still have a lot of like blood that flows there, so yeah, not going to be able to grow back.
Okay, but you can function without it though, right? You just can't be like an all-out athlete like how you used to be.
Right.
You're gonna have to retire.
It will be less stable.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I know that a long time ago, before the medical advances, back in like the 60s, there's a player, his name is Gale Sayers. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Gale Sayers.
I heard him before.
Yeah, he was a running back in the 1960s. He played for the Chicago Bears. Okay. And basically all he had was like a torn ACL. But back then they didn't have all these medical advances. So his career just ended. Mm-hmm. Nowadays I see like a Klay Thompson and like all these players coming back even stronger. I remember Adrian Peterson that one year. Adrian Peterson tore his whole ACL or whatever. He came back within like the same year or calendar year. So just with the medical advances, players are able to prolong their careers just with these surgical procedures, man. It's crazy. So, and then let's see, where are we at right here? Let's see. All right. Is there a difference between a torn Achilles and a ruptured Achilles? If there is, what's the difference?
They're the same. Torn,
Okay.
ruptured. All it means is that the Achilles is no longer attached.
Okay.
To like the attachment that it's usually at. That's really all it means.
And it's the Achilles is kind of like a rubber band. Is it? It's just very flexible. It bends all the time.
It's not band on your the back of your ankle. Let's see. If it's partially torn, you can rehab it. But if it's a complete tear, then it is suggested you have surgery for that to reattach the tendon.
Okay. Again, it's those
some doctor might say just rehab it, but
yeah.
And
like many other injuries, it's just an injury that you don't know when it's coming. It's just, you can't prevent it. If it happens, it happens. It's just one wrong move, and that's pretty much it. So, okay. And then can you guys share some ways it can be rehab, ruptured Achilles or torn Achilles? How can an athlete rehab it?
Pretty similar to like your ankle rehab. Start with your range of motion first.
Yeah.
So I don't think we went through this yet. Let's see. The progression of rehab, like typically you'll go through pain management, range of motion, strengthening, cardio exercises, and the core exercises, and then back to your normal activity. That's the full progression of rehabbing.
Okay.
And you kind of follow that too for any kind.
Okay. And then should we use price or rice for the situation as well to be injured?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. For the first few days.
Okay. All right. Then can you guys explain what a shin splint is and how can athletes rehab from this?
Yeah, shin splints. Like if you want to know the scientific medical terminology, medial tibial stress syndrome, and pretty much that's due to like continuous pounding on your tibia. So like a lot of runners will have that, especially cross-country runners, because they're running for such a long time. And then they're running on is also depends on what kind of course they're running on. It could be really different than what they're training on. So just that competitive or continuous force on it is kind of what causes it.
It's kind of like micro tears of your muscles around your shin bone there. We call it tibia.
Okay.
Would you guys agree that repetitive movements, like, kind of, it's a big contribution to like a lot of these injuries at all?
Absolutely. Like a lot of the movements, especially in sports where there's a lot of high energy and it's intense, athletes are going to give it their all. They're going to put 100%, or even more than that. And a lot of the movements, they're requiring a lot, like especially with volleyball, baseball, like all that overhead motion, it's not really normal for your shoulders to be doing that much. So that's definitely a key factor to it, into why a lot of injuries occur there.
For sure. And then let's move to tendonitis. Man, I know that Pheng played over the years. I remember Pheng used to have like a lot of knee, I wouldn't say problems, but just like soreness, correct, Pheng?
Yeah, I don't know. I forget what that's called, but I forgot the term for it. But when your knee is like kind of growing still and it's there's inflammation or tendonitis there. I forget what it's called when you're younger, but
Osgood slaughter?
Yeah. And I think that's what it is.
What is it called again?
Osgood slaughters.
Okay. What does that entail? Was it just?
Yeah, so that's it's a injury, I guess you could say, that's common in young athletes, just because their body's still growing. So pretty much your tendon is pulling on that joint or tubercle. There's like a bony landmark below your knee. It's pulling and it's kind of separating from the so your joints aren't fully fused yet, so it's kind of pulling on that. Causes it.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, man, I never knew that because Pheng was 29 when he was doing that, man. But he's still growing.
No, I'm good young now, but like, when I was younger, yeah, that definitely was, when I was trying to hoop, trying to run from all the gangsters and all the.
Just a lot of knee stuff. Would you guys recommend athletes wearing braces even if they don't have any like knee injury? Should they wear it? I mean, does it do anything?
Trying to play volleyball too.
Yeah. Does it do anything? Does it affect anything? Or
I mean, depends on their confidence level. If the brace makes them feel more comfortable with their game or activities, then go for it.
Yeah. Going off that too. If you're gonna wear a brace, you gotta do all the other components to it too, because the brace is not gonna. You can only do so much, so you gotta make sure that you're also strengthening and doing all the other exercises to help your joints. A brace like it can only do so much, so you gotta make sure you're doing everything else to help the brace.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, I definitely wear like compression knee sleeves. You would say that definitely gives me confidence to kind of move around and dive and whatnot.
For sure, man. I know that
some study shows that it only help a little, or it's pretty, or sometimes they say it's pretty much the same thing as not wearing a brace too.
Yeah.
A lot of it is mental.
I agree
too.
with that.
Yeah.
Trust me, it's mental.
Hey, that's why they say, I forgot who had the old saying. I think it was Yogi Berra. He was a baseball player, but he had like a famous quote. He said baseball was 90% mental and 10% physical. So, I mean, just playing sports, a lot of it is mental, and then Pheng could probably allude to this a lot.
No, just because I have a history of it, from a young age, so it like kind of relieves my mindset. That's just one thing. I'm coming from my ankles, knees, hips, lower back, shoulder. I mean, it relieves one part of my body that I don't have to worry about.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that sometimes a lot of our athletes forget that after a long day of playing ball and tournament, sometimes we forget to come home or whatever and take care of our body afterwards. A lot of time we just kind of come home and then just do whatever we got to do. A lot of time, we got to come back home and kind of, I guess, treat our body as well to let it rest or, whatever the case may be. So
are there enough studies on cryotherapy for you guys to kind of comment on?
Let's see, it's more of like a short-term treatment for pain. For instance, you will jump into like an ice bath, right? It will help your pain for probably a few hours, and then after that your pain will come back again.
It's kind of like I guess Hennessy. The pain will go away for a little bit, but it's gonna come back. It's not going anywhere.
The most important part is to fully rehab like an injury.
For sure.
Yeah.
I know a lot of football players, they just jump in that ice tub like right after every game or whatnot. I mean, not for like a long span of time, probably for like a minute or so or whatever. But yeah.
Sure.
I've never tried it, but I was just wondering.
Can you guys speak on some ways athletes could kind of like, after like a long day of working out or playing on a long tournament, what are some things they can do to kind of take care of their bodies? Just basic stuff.
Yeah. Let's see. They should sleep. They should at least have 8 hours of sleep or more, because when you sleep, your cells, they do a lot of regenerations. And if you don't have the proper amount of sleep, then your cell will not regenerate appropriately. So sleep is important. Get some sleep. Let's see.
Yeah, I know, like especially at my age, like every time I play, I would stretch and roll to go play, and then like every night I would stretch and roll also. I don't know if that's like recommended or not, but it helps me, so I don't know if that's.
Yeah, I think that's a good habit to do, especially stretching before and after. Foam rolling definitely can help, like you had mentioned earlier, like with muscle soreness and just loosening up your muscles. That's definitely a good habit to get into, especially before you sleep too.
Yeah, for sure. I think rest with anything is great. I think, also coming back home and stretching again, just to make sure, just whatever it is.
Right. Speaking of rest, the National Athletic Trainers Association, they recommended 2 days per week, just for recovery and mental health, for your mental health.
Okay, cool. And then I think that's about it. Let's see if our audience have anything. Then man, thanks for dropping in with us, and speaking on behalf of all athletes, and just taking care of your bodies and things like that, man. I mean, I think as athletes, we should invest, and it's not just athletes. I think in general we should invest in our bodies, because we only get one body, man. We don't take care of it, then obviously our health is going to deteriorate, faster than usual. So thanks a lot, gentlemen. Pheng, is there anything we want to add or mention?
I just kind of want to get you guys' opinion on like hip, because a lot of sports use a lot of hip movement, whether it's rotating your hips or exploding from your hips and whatnot. What are your opinions on the importance of hip strength, or if it's even important, or and how to strengthen it and whatnot?
Yeah, it's definitely important. Like we mentioned earlier, like your whole body's connected. So I did an internship like the summer between my junior and senior year, and one of the personal trainers that I was interning with, he said, like, especially with our youth now, they're sitting so much, so their hips are not being utilized as much, because they're sitting at the chairs playing a lot of games. They're inside a lot. They're not out and playing out outside as much. So that's something we focused on a lot, was hip strengthening, and for that you could just do like leg swings or like lunges, just anything that's going to help incorporate your hips movement. You can do like gate openers. So pretty much all you're doing is lifting your legs up and then opening out to the side. Like high knees and stuff like that. Anything that gets your whole body moving and gets your hips involved. Those are definitely help. But yeah, hips are definitely important in a lot of, like Pheng, you mentioned, like a lot of the movements and activities that we do. So you don't want to forget.
Sure, man. I think flexibility is, a lot of people are practicing like just being flexible nowadays too, which, and if you're playing any sports at all, is so underrated. It makes you that much like effective if you could like switch position quickly. It's so effective. I've seen athletes who are like, when they're flexible, they could like get to a certain position so quick.
Speaking of that, yoga is definitely good practice to do. One of my former advisors from high school, and I worked for her a few summers, she started like her own entrepreneurship, doing yoga and stuff like that. So that's definitely something you definitely
also help with your mental health too.
It helps with that too.
Man, yoga is so underrated. I tried it. Oh my God, I'm out of breath just doing certain position.
You know, Charles Barkley said about that. He's like, yoga is just stretching. It's just a different word, so it would make you guys pay for it.
For sure, man. I know it. It's not
your words make you guys pay for it or whatnot.
You know what? It's not easy, and it works so much on your core because you're trying to do certain position and certain
yoga instructors. They really know how to target your tiny muscles and really make you work them. And yeah.
You guys heard of goat yoga? I just recently heard about that.
What is goat yoga?
You know, they have like the goats walk on you or something like that.
Yeah, you do yoga as the goat, like the baby goat or whatever is trampling over you or whatever. That's a thing. It's a thing. Apparently, I don't know if it's helpful or not.
Wait, why? Why a goat?
I don't know. I just heard it.
Why not
the experts.
What is the research behind that? Why a goat? Why can't it be like a something else?
Like
they like jumping on things. So like if you're doing some yoga poses, they can jump on you, and then like this is just my theory, but like on you, and then like when their hooves are on you, it's like they're massaging you. So it's like they're targeting muscles and getting you to react to it. So that might be why they're using goats, just because they're one of the animals that like will actually jump on anything that they can.
Okay, what if they
supposed to be somewhat therapeutic or some shit? I don't know.
Well, exactly that. Some shit. What if they shit on you, dude? What the heck?
Just take it in stride, man.
I would take the thing away. I would take
it's part of it. It's part of the experience.
You paid for it. Take it home with you.
Oh goodness, man. Oh man. Okay, I never heard of that. That's something new we got to look into.
Not to get into any tangents here, but yeah, that's it.
Oh man. Well, I think people have so many I guess theories, or I guess it's so competitive out there. People gotta make it different, do a niche or something, man. Like goats, I mean, shoot, whatever. All for that, sure. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Just want to, Pheng and I, on behalf of CrossCourt, just want to congratulate you guys on what you guys have been able to accomplish at such a young age. We wish you guys nothing but luck in the future. Please be don't be a stranger of the show and us as well too. Whatever you guys need in the future, let us know, and hopefully our paths cross. I know that Nathan, you're in Pittsburgh, and I think you shared a little bit beforehand that you plan to stay out there for an extended amount of time. I know Yi, you're in Minnesota. Hopefully we cross paths. Hopefully Nathan, in the future we'll see each other somewhere, maybe in the tournament, or if you ever get out to where you are, or if you ever get out to where Pheng and I are in Wisconsin, man, give us a holler. For sure.
I was going to ask one last question. When you guys, get enough members on your group, do you guys see yourself kind of, because I know I go to take my son and then take my son to like a lot of AAU program tournaments and whatnot. They have like athletic trainers at the sites. Do you guys foresee you guys doing that? At Hmong tournaments or whatnot?
Yeah, that's one of our goals, and that's one of the reasons that we formed this group too.
Yeah. That would definitely be helpful. Yeah,
we definitely want to. Like when I talked with Will on the phone too, there's really no one there who specializes in it, and that when they get injured, there's a lot of like confusion about like what do I do next? Like what's my next step? So you definitely want to be that.
You guys have like a Hey, Pheng, do you guys have like a dedicated medical, I don't know, staff during your tournament and stuff like that?
The event
in your team.
Not on the team, but the event, like if it's a big event, they usually have like an outside sort or athletic trainers that come in that they have come in and help out during the event in case of any injuries or if anybody wants to tape up their ankles or whatever and all that. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Oh, go ahead, Nathan.
I was going to mention, so one of the members that we had just reached out to, he's also in Minnesota, but he's an athletic trainer for the minor league baseball team. he's played in the flag football tournaments before too, and he's said personally like he hasn't seen it at like the J4 tournaments.
Yeah.
So he was called like this was when he was still in school, I believe. He had a teammate or someone who got injured, then they weren't sure what to do, so he was kind of the one that like had to take charge and tell them like, okay,
Sure.
Yeah.
Definitely,
Yeah, it'll be nice to at least like July 4th would have a designated athletic trainers for each respective sport, whatever.
For sure. And I think as we move on, and I guess the more money the event is able to generate, hopefully they invest some of those money into what you guys do. I don't think that you guys should do anything for free. That's just my opinion. Because you guys spend a lot of years studying and doing what you guys do. I definitely think you guys should be compensated. But hopefully, big events. I know that Hmong sports is I think it's a pretty big deal in our culture. I think that we should also invest in educating our athletes how to properly take care of themselves and having medical staff on hand if anything were to happen.
Yeah, and that's kind of a show of progression in our sport. You know what I mean? Like, let's just not stay Neanderthals, and like progress, in terms of, hey, like these are real athletes. They're trying to, win something here, and there's going to be injuries, and treat it as such,
For sure. That's for sure, man, because I know that there's injuries here and there. I know ankles need to be taped up properly. I know that there's all sorts of stuff, man, that can be done, and then a lot of it is done within you asana, but definitely we could have someone there to kind of help guide the situation.
That's why I kind of love you guys' vision. I think there's a void, like a definite void in, at least I know, in the Hmong community for, athletic trainers, because injuries, they happen at least every tournament, whether if it's minor or major,
Yes, for sure, man. And a lot of it, sometimes it's just hydration too. A lot of these athletes, I mean, I've heard of athletes just passing out because of the sun or because of just the weather. It's just too damn hot. They're not hydrated enough, things like that. So, I mean, what are we going to do when someone just passes out right there, And then a lot of the times, none of these athletes are coming to the tournament. They're not coming to the tournament with a physical. We don't even know if they're healthy or not. Some of them can have a heart condition and we have no idea, and it's a matter of, it's a split second where we could either save the life or, the person, being unfortunate, not making it, so, a lot of stuff where you actually think about it. So, but, man, continue doing what you guys do. We hope to see you guys out there soon.
Guys, thanks for having us here.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
Anything, any last things you guys want to get out there?
Just like
so to the athletes, don't neglect your injury. Seek help if your pain doesn't go away, and work on your sleep.
Okay, for sure, man. Even if you have kids and stuff, man, get 8 hours. Find it somewhere. There's like 8 hours somewhere.
I'm like if I get 6.
at least 7. 7, it's okay. But push for 8.
Yeah.
Oh man. For
5
sure,
during the night and then like 2 during the afternoon. Does that count? Does that count?
It doesn't have to be in a row. It could be scattered anywhere.
Yeah, maybe a couple naps here and there, power naps.
That's good for you. Naps are good.
Well, thank you, Nathan. Thank you, Yi.